As many as 8 players may leave West Ham this summer. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the West Ham Network. My name's Anton, bringing you today's West Ham Daily. Good morning to you all. If you're watching, depending on what part of the world you're from, it could be the afternoon, it could be the evening. But thank you for joining us. Listen, we're on the march towards 25,000 subscribers. If you'd have said to me a little olds a year ago or 2 years ago that we'd be anywhere near this, then I would have been thinking you were mental. But we are. So if you are new around here, please hit that subscribe button. You do not know how much that means to us. It's a fantastic thing. On top of that, please hit that thumbs up as well if you're enjoying our content. And if not, then let us know. Put it in the comments. And we do try to get back to everyone, but it's a very busy life we lead between work, families, and of course doing the channel. So I'm here today to talk to you about a player exodus. Now, I know that we have done this over several weeks, but because we're coming now to the business end of the transfer, the start of the kind of new era of coming into West Ham, lots of players are now rumoured to either be staying or going. And we're learning more and more as the days go on, and the minutes and the weeks and the months and the years and the hours, or whatever you want to call it, that certain players are likely to be heading out the door. Now, as news has been breaking over the past couple of days, and X tonight confirmed, it looks like this man is on his way out of West Ham. Angelo Ogbonna has probably played his last game for West Ham, not being offered a new contract. And to be honest with you, if this does transpire to be true, I agree with this. This is a good decision. I think this probably should have been done last year. I understand why part and parcel of them offered him it, but it just wasn't for me. And I think we needed to break free from that moment. So if it is, then thank you very much for your service, sir. I think he's definitely capable of getting some form of contract back in Italy. If he's fancying, go back to Italy. But it looks like he's made a life of himself in London. So it'll be interesting to see what he actually does when he does leave West Ham. But finally, it means that we can start this rebuild of our defence. And while I'm talking about our defence, another player that looks likely to be leaving West Ham is Ben Johnson, who I think as of the end of June becomes a free agent. Now it looks like, and what we're hearing is that West Ham are going to still try and go back and tempt him to stay. But we know, because we've spoken about it for a long time, that West Ham and Ben Johnson's representatives are very far apart in terms of the valuation about what he is worth. So if we can't even meet anywhere near the middle, then Ben Johnson will be heading out. And he's got a lot of suitors after him from all over Europe and in the UK, not just England, but in Scotland as well. So I don't think he'll be shy of offers, and that'll be just about what he wants to do. And I think there may be a part of him that wants to speak to the boss, the new head coach that comes in and goes, "What's your vision? What do you see? Am I going to get a chance? Am I going to get some form of guarantees?" But I don't think you can get guarantees at West Ham, especially with a new head coach. And the difference is, if a manager comes looking for you, then you're probably going to get some reasonable game time. So if it is Crystal Palace and you have been chasing the right back for several months, then you're probably going to feel that kind of warm welcome approach to it as well. So there is the potential of number 2 definitely heading out the door. The next thing that we are hearing is, and I think this player here, Agerd, would be a favourable player for Lopetegui. I think he would really like him. The thing with Agerd is, I think if you've got in your mind that you want to leave the club, and I think possibly the rumor is that is what he is doing. I'm not sure. Again, I don't want to believe everything you hear, all hearsay, etc. But if the rumor is true that he is wanting to leave the club, then so be it. You have to look at that as a real option, and we can probably protect an asset because I think he is a very good player, and I think under a Lopetegui style, possession based and not playing a low block, I think he is the perfect defender. So there could be an element of trying to persuade. And I think if he is wanting to go, then I think the club will honour that and try and get bang for the buck for the player, which will add to our kitty again. But I'd be disappointed if he does leave. But I think there's more and more chance that he will. Put your comments in. Let me know your thoughts on him there. Now, it looks like Divine Mubama probably is going to be heading out the door, which is really disappointing as a West Ham fan. But you know what? I've got to take the positives and the negatives from this situation. And what's been really disappointing is he's not had a lot of game time. He's not, and he's probably pissed off, and he probably wants some game time. He probably definitely deserved more game time in his career went under David Moyes, but he never got it. And there'll be suitors out there looking for him, and it's just whether or not West Ham would want to put the effort in to convince him to sign a new contract and then send him out on loan. That's the realistic thing that we'd probably want. He needs a loan in the Championship to get regular game time, and then West Ham could have an option after that. So I don't know what West Ham are thinking, what we're looking to do moving forward, but with this player, I'm not saying you need to throw the book at him, because again, it's tough. If their valuations are very different, what's he done to prove his valuation? That's the tough thing when it comes to young players. But it looks like he could have played his last game for West Ham as well. Now, another permanent exit. This was announced from X on him. XWHU employee is Loazu. Remember the Brazilian young starlet that we brought over several years ago? Well, it looks like he is about to make a permanent exit from West Ham, likely to be back to South America. It's just not worked out the way that West Ham and Loazu thought it would do. But you know what? Sometimes you need to try these things, and as long as it doesn't cost the club and the player, many years of problems and or finances, then it's definitely a risk that should have been taken. And I think they were right to take that risk. It just didn't work out in the end. But equally, though, if you don't have a pathway anywhere near the first team, then when are you ever really going to get your chance? If you're never going to push up and play up, then that's probably going to fall very, very, very short. Now, another player that looks like he is going to depart, but only on a loan, will be Callum Marshall. Of course, went on loan to West Bromwich Albion last season. But to be honest with you, I don't think the club really wanted the deal. I think that was probably construed and constructed by the agents. And it didn't work out in the end. He did get some reasonable game time, but it didn't work out in the end. And I think the club wanted him to go to the lower leagues. And I'm not saying that's the right decision or the wrong decision, but I think he just needed a regular games. And a bit like if you look at Freddie Potts, and see what he's done at Wycombe Wanderers, and even Kadu as well, getting a reasonable amount of game time for him, then it's really, really key for the youth players to go out on loan. So it looks like he will be heading out on loan, hopefully to a Championship club. And next year will be a massive year for Callum Marshall to see if he can step up. The physicality of the game is huge, and that's where he needs to prove his worth. Now, interestingly, we are, as Holly brought to you last night, hearing that Cresswell has signed a 1-year extension. Now, it kind of does surprise me and doesn't surprise me, because when Lopetegui comes in, then remember he was looking to sign Cresswell, so he obviously favours him in some way. And I'm trying to understand how you look at a player like Cresswell, and I'm not being disrespectful to him and think that's the way I want to go moving forward. Now, I don't think that's the way he wants to go moving forward, but I think if you're going to go through big changes in a club and big changes in terms of, dismantling a squad and trying for a rebuild, you're going to need hardcore people that know the club inside out. And if you're telling me that we have to keep one or a couple of the kind of core that's been in and around the squad for 8 or 9 years, then I'll accept that. I will absolutely accept that, because I don't think he's going to be a starter. Certainly don't think that, but if it means that he kind of offers that support mechanism to the next crop of players coming through, you never know, there could be a coach in him as well. So that's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. Don't worry, I've not forgotten about other players heading out the door, because I'll come on to the last couple of players very, very shortly. And on top of that, and obviously with Cressy signing that contract extension, we're also hearing and have heard before that Fabianski signed that contract extension as well. So we're waiting to probably hear those news updates from the club. And I think, do you know what? Essentially, it's probably the right decision. Areola's now got on to the number 1 spot. We don't have European football next year, so he'll get the domestic cups. But I think in terms of Areola stating his place as the number 1 at West Ham, that's a foregone conclusion. We know exactly what the situation is there. Now, there's only two more players to talk about after this player, Antonio, who I do know, and we all know Lopetegui likes, he likes that kind of physical presence. So I think that they may look to speak to him, discuss about where they see and how he fits within this squad. I think that would be the right decision. I don't think we need to cut ties with him yet, because I think if we can convince him to stay and utilize him as an impact sub, that's exactly where we need Antonio. And if you haven't already, go and check out the podcast he did. It was a fantastic, really interesting insight into his life and how he's been struggling for many years. It's really, really interesting, and maybe change your dynamics when you're thinking about why he has been the way he has been over the last couple of years. So make sure you do just go into YouTube, type in Mickey Antonio, and you'll see it all come up as well. But last but not least, let's talk about these geezers here, Pac-Man and Kudus. I mean, listen, let me just talk to you about Mohamed Kudus for a second. He is a special player. I would have a team of 10 Kuduses in it. And if he was a goalkeeper, I'd make it 11. But he is phenomenal. He tracks back. He does absolutely everything. And against Manchester City in particular in the second half, he caused them problems. They didn't know how to do it. And in actual fact, when I was watching the game, I was starting to get a little bit worried, because I was like, I can picture Man City fans and I can picture Guardiola looking at a player like Kudus and going, oh my God, get him in our team. And the fear you've got is when someone comes calling who's at that level, then are they going to knock them back? And the rumor is, of course, Man City are still interested in Paquetá, who hasn't been playing well for the last couple of months in West Ham shirt. But at the end of the day, he's not a crap player. We know he's a very good player, and the chances of him going to Man City are extremely high. But if you had to look at this in a positive way, then if you had to go for one or the other, then I would want to keep Kudus no matter what. I still want to keep Paquetá, but you've got to keep Kudus no matter what. And Kudus ain't going anywhere this year anyway, so don't you worry about that. But if Pac-Man does go, then at least we get some value behind our monies. And that is exactly the key, is to be able to build a bit of a war chest. And Paquetá is probably key to that war chest and that big rebuild coming this summer under Lopetegui as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comments from everything I have said this morning in terms of players heading out the door. We'll wait for official confirmation, and when that official confirmation does come, we will let you know. Does that mean it's the end? No, it's just a minimum of what we think and expect to happen. There probably could be a few more exits coming from the club as well. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated on that as much as we possibly can. And of course, come on, you Irons.